Breaking free. Margaret Chen had always felt invisible to her husband. He holds all of the power within the family, and apparently, holds some secrets too. He holds great resentment toward their only son, who is currently incarcerated. Margaret knows she wants her son to move back in with them after his release but is fearful of how her husband will respond to this. Her dilemma is that she lacks any knowledge at all about the family's finances. About the only place where Margaret feels strong is in her love and defense of her son. Will this love and concern for their son end her marriage? And is that okay with her? ACT 1. The Invisible Woman. Some prisons have bars. Others have joint bank accounts and a husband who says, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." For Margaret Chen, freedom was something she'd have to fight for. And the fight would begin with a phone call she'd been waiting 2 years to receive. Margaret Chen was 50 years old and couldn't tell you how much money was in her own bank account. She'd raised a son, kept a home, worked part-time at the local library for 15 years. And she'd never seen a tax return, a mortgage statement, or a retirement account balance in her entire 25-year marriage. Margaret Chen, 50, tired eyes but kind face, stands at the stove making breakfast. She wears comfortable clothes, jeans and a sweater. Robert Chen, 53, sits at the table in a business suit, scrolling through his phone while eating. "Don't forget I have that conference in Chicago next week. 3 days. You'll need to manage on your own." "Robert, about that. I was hoping we could talk about something important." Robert, I need you to look at me." He glances up, irritated. "What is it, Margaret?" "I have an 8 o'clock meeting. Danny gets out in 15 days. Robert's expression hardens. "I'm aware. We need to discuss how we're going to help him. He'll need support, maybe counseling, definitely help finding a job. He made his choices. He stole from his own employer. He embarrassed this family. Don't expect me to throw money at the problem. He's our son. He's a criminal who should have known better. We gave him everything, and he threw it away. He was 20 years old and made a terrible mistake. A mistake that cost me clients, Margaret. Do you have any idea what it's like to have people ask me how my son is doing and I have to say he's in prison? I handle the finances in this house, and I'm telling you, we're not enabling him. He'll come home, he'll follow my rules, and he'll figure out his own life." End of discussion. He grabs his briefcase and leaves. Margaret stands alone in the kitchen, her hands trembling slightly. She picks up her phone and looks at a saved number. Danny, prison. She's called it every Sunday for 2 years. 15 more days. Margaret sits in her parked car outside her house, staring at the contact Linda sent. After a long moment, she dials into phone. "Hello? Yes, my name is Margaret Chen. A friend gave me your number. I need help understanding my own finances. Blank. Blank. ACT 2. The Awakening." Margaret sits nervously at a corner table. Andrea Thompson, 45, professional but warm, joins her with a briefcase. "Margaret, I'm Andrea Thompson. Thank you for reaching out. I'm not sure I should be here. You're here because something doesn't feel right. That's always a good enough reason. Tell me about your situation." Margaret takes a shaky breath and explains everything: the lack of financial access, Robert's control, her secret savings account, Danny's impending release. Taking notes. "Okay, first, I want you to know that what you're describing is a very common form of financial abuse. It's not always intentional on the controlling partner's part. Sometimes it evolves over time, but the impact is the same. You're vulnerable. What should I do?" "We need to start by understanding what you're legally entitled to. You're married, which means in most states, you have a right to know about marital assets. But we need to be strategic. If Robert is as controlling as you describe, confronting him directly might backfire." "I don't want to confront him. I just want to know the truth. Here's what I recommend. First, gather any documents you can find at home. Tax returns, bank statements, mortgage documents, retirement account statements, anything. Don't take them, just photograph them with your phone. He keeps everything locked in his office. Does he ever leave the house without locking it?" Hesitating. "He's going to Chicago for 3 days next week. For a conference. That's your window." "Margaret, I know this feels like betrayal, but you're not doing anything wrong. You're protecting yourself and your son. Can you do this?" Margaret nods slowly. "What happens after I get the documents?" "We analyze them. We see the full picture. Then we make a plan. Maybe it's just opening dialogue with Robert. Maybe it's more, but you deserve to make that choice from a position of knowledge, not ignorance." Blank. Blank. Robert packs a suitcase in the bedroom. Margaret watches from the doorway. I'll be back Thursday night. The conference runs through Wednesday. Don't forget to put the garbage out Tuesday. I never forget. And Margaret, while I'm gone, I need you to start thinking about ground rules for when Danny gets home. He's not going to lie around here doing nothing. He's been in prison for 2 years, Robert. He'll need time to adjust. Zipping suitcase. 2 weeks. That's how much time he gets. Then he pays rent or he finds somewhere else to live. This is his home. This is my home. I pay the mortgage. I pay the bills. And I'm not running a halfway house for criminals. He picks up his suitcase and briefcase. I'll call you when I land. He kisses her briefly on the cheek and leaves. Margaret listens to his car pull away. Then she walks to Robert's office door, locked, as always. She remembers seeing him type the code on the keypad once, their wedding anniversary. She tries it. The lock clicks open. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Margaret enters hesitantly into Robert's office, turning on a desk lamp. Filing cabinets line one wall. A computer sits on the desk. She opens the first filing cabinet, tax returns. She starts photographing documents with trembling hands. As she works through the files, her expression changes from nervous to confused to horrified. Whispering to herself, this can't be right. She finds statements showing accounts she's never heard of. Credit card bills with charges at hotels, restaurants, places she's never been. A mortgage document for a property in Florida she didn't know they owned. Retirement account statements showing much less than she expected. Most disturbingly, loan documents. Multiple loans, tens of thousands of dollars borrowed against their home equity. Sitting down heavily. Oh my God, what did you do, Robert? She photographs everything systematically, her hands steadier now. Hours pass. By the time she's done, she has over 200 photos on her phone. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The next day Margaret sits across from Andrea, who's reviewing documents on her laptop, the photos Margaret sent overnight. Looking up, serious. Margaret, how much do you think your household is worth? I don't know. We have the house. Robert has a good job. I always assumed we were comfortable. Your house is worth approximately $320,000 based on recent comps. You have about $180,000 left on the mortgage. That's equity of $140,000. That's the good news. And the bad news? Your husband has taken out $95,000 in home equity loans over the past 6 years. He has credit card debt totaling $43,000. He has a second mortgage on a condo in Florida, purchased 4 years ago, that still has $155,000 owed on it. Margaret's face goes pale. Continuing, your retirement accounts, which should be substantial after his 25 years of work, have only $87,000 in them. Based on his salary history, they should have significantly more. Where did the money go? That's the question. The credit card statements show charges to hotels, restaurants, retail stores. The Florida property appears to be a rental, but I don't see rental income being declared on your tax returns. And the home equity loans, there's no clear indication of what that money was used for. Voice shaking. Are we broke? You're in debt. Significant debt. And Margaret, there's something else. Several of these credit cards and one of the home equity loans have your signature on the applications. That's impossible. I never signed anything. Did your husband ever ask you to sign documents without explaining what they were? Tax returns, maybe? Papers, he said, were routine. Margaret's expression changes as memory dawns. He used to have me sign things. Said they were just formalities. Tax documents, he said. I trusted him. Gently. Margaret, he's been using your identity to secure loans. That means you're legally liable for this debt. If something happens to him, or if he defaults, creditors can come after you. Standing up, panicking. I need to confront him. Right now. I need to. Firmly. No. Sit down, Margaret. We need to be strategic about this. Margaret sits, tears forming. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to consult with an attorney. We're going to document everything. And we're going to protect you and your son before we confront your husband. Because Margaret, this isn't just about money anymore. This is about fraud, and potentially worse. Margaret sits with Andrea and Thomas Park, 58, a family law attorney. Mrs. Chen, based on what you've shown me, your husband has committed several forms of financial fraud. Forging your signature on loan documents, hiding assets, potentially hiding income from the Florida property. What does that mean for me? It means you have legal options. You could report this to the authorities. Signature forgery is a crime. You could file for divorce with a strong case for him being solely responsible for the marital debt. Or you could confront him directly and demand transparency and change. I don't want him arrested. I just want the truth. And I want to protect my son. Then here's what I recommend. We prepare a comprehensive document outlining everything we've found. We schedule a meeting with you, him, me, and Andrea. We lay out the facts and give him a choice: full financial disclosure and marriage counseling, or divorce proceedings where all of this becomes public record. He'll be furious, probably, but Mrs. Chen, you have leverage now. You have documentation, you have witnesses, and most importantly, you have the law on your side. He signed your name to legal documents without your permission. That's fraud. He doesn't want that made public any more than you do. Margaret, there's also the matter of your son. He's being released in less than 2 weeks. He's going to come home to, what? A father who's financially abusive and in debt. A mother who's just discovering she's been defrauded. Danny needs stability, resolve hardening. Then I need to fix this before he comes home. Whatever it takes. Blank. Underscore. Blank. ACT 3. The confrontation. Robert returns from Chicago, enters with his suitcase, looking tired. Margaret sits on the couch, Andrea and Thomas sitting in chairs. Stopping abruptly. What's going on? Who are these people? Robert, this is Andrea Thompson, a financial advocate, and Thomas Park, an attorney. We need to talk. Defensive immediately. About what? Margaret, what the hell is this? It's about the $95,000 in home equity loans I didn't know about. The Florida condo we apparently own. The $43,000 in credit card debt. And my signature on documents I never signed. Robert's face goes through several expressions: shock, anger, calculation. You went through my office, our home, our debt, apparently, to the attorneys. You need to leave. This is between me and my wife. Actually, Mr. Chen, we're here precisely because this has gone beyond being between you and your wife. Mrs. Chen has evidence that you forged her signature on multiple loan documents. That's fraud. Laughing bitterly. Forged? Margaret, you signed those documents. You sign whatever I ask you to sign. You've never questioned it before. Because you told me they were tax returns. Routine paperwork. You lied to me, Robert. I protected you. You don't understand finances, Margaret. You never have. I've kept this family afloat for 25 years while you played librarian part-time and... Interrupting. Mr. Chen, let's be clear about what's actually happened here. You've accumulated nearly $200,000 in debt, much of it hidden from your wife. You've purchased property without her knowledge. You've systematically excluded her from financial decisions while using her identity to secure loans. This isn't protection. This is abuse. To Margaret, is that what they told you? That I'm abusive? After everything I've provided? This house, this life. This house that's drowning in debt? This life where I don't even know if we can afford groceries next month? Sitting down, deflating slightly. You don't understand. The investments didn't perform like they should have. The Florida property was supposed to be rental income. I was trying to. You were trying to hide it. For years, while I worked part-time thinking we were fine. While our son sat in prison thinking he'd come home to stability. Robert's face changes at the mention of Danny. Don't bring him into this. He's already in this. He's coming home in 12 days too. What, Robert? A house we might lose? Parents who can barely speak to each other. Mr. Chen, here's what's going to happen. You have 2 options. Option 1. You provide complete financial disclosure. Every account, every debt, every asset. You attend marriage counseling with Margaret. You open joint accounts that you both have equal access to. You begin repairing the damage you've done. And option 2? Blank. Underscore. Blank. ACT 4. Rebuilding Mrs. Chen files for divorce. In the proceedings, all of your financial misconduct becomes public record. The forged signatures, the hidden debt, everything. She'll seek to be held harmless for the fraudulent debt, and she'll likely succeed. You'll be left with the debt and potentially criminal charges. Silence. Robert stares at the floor. Quietly. It started small. A few bad investments. I thought I could make it back. I borrowed against the house to cover the losses. Then I borrowed more to cover the loan payments. The Florida condo was supposed to be the answer: rental income, property appreciation. But it didn't work out. Why didn't you tell me? Looking up, something broken in his eyes. Because I was ashamed. Because I'm supposed to be the one who handles things. The provider. The one who has it all figured out. How could I tell you I'd failed? So instead you made me complicit in your failure without even knowing it. You used my name, my credit, my trust. I know what I did. Mr. Chen, the question is, what are you going to do now? Robert and Margaret sit across from each other at the table. The attorneys have left. A stack of financial documents sits between them. Where do we even start? The truth, all of it. How bad is it really? Opening a folder. Total debt, $298,000. That includes the mortgage, the home equity loans, the Florida condo mortgage, and the credit cards. Assets. This house with about $40,000 in actual equity after the loans, the Florida condo which is underwater, worth less than we owe, and the retirement accounts with $87,000. So we're over $200,000 in debt when you subtract assets from obligations. Yes, and our monthly income versus our monthly debt payments? Grimacing. I make $8,500 a month. You make about $2,000 from the library. Our minimum debt payments are $6,400 a month. Plus utilities, food, insurance. We've been short every month for the past year. I've been juggling, paying minimums on some cards to make full payments on others, then switching the next month. We're in a debt spiral. Nodding. I didn't want you to know. I thought I could fix it before it got this bad. Leaning back. 25 years, Robert. We've been married 25 years, and I didn't know any of this. Not just the debt. I didn't know what we owned, what we earned, what we owed. You kept me in the dark about everything. At first, it wasn't intentional. You said you weren't good with money. You seemed happy to let me handle it. I was young and stupid. And you were happy to keep me that way. That's not fair. Voice rising. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I couldn't leave you even if I wanted to, Robert. I have $3,000 saved. Money I hid from you because I was terrified of what you'd say if you knew I opened my own account. $3,000 at 50 years old. That's what you've left me with. Robert doesn't respond. Continuing, calmer. But here's what I've learned this week. I'm stronger than I thought. I went through your files. I hired professionals. I educated myself. And I realized something. I'm not stupid about money. I'm just inexperienced. And experience can be gained. What do you want, Margaret? I want equal access to everything. Joint accounts we both can see. Financial decisions we both make. Counseling, both marriage and financial. And I want a plan to fix this debt that doesn't involve lying or hiding or juggling. That might mean bankruptcy. Then that's what it means. But we face it honestly. Together. Or we face it separately through divorce. Robert studies his wife's face, seeing her perhaps for the first time in years. I'll do it. Whatever you want. Whatever it takes. There's one more thing. What? Danny comes home in 12 days. And when he does, we welcome him without judgment. We help him rebuild his life. And we show him what it looks like when people make mistakes and then do the hard work to fix them. Robert's eyes fill with tears. I've been so angry at him. So ashamed. Because it was easier to be angry at him than to face your own mistakes. I understand that now. But Robert, he's our son. And he paid his debt. Now for a long moment. Blank. Blank. Margaret, Robert, and Danny sit in a therapist's office. Dr. Sarah Williams, 45, sits across from them. So we have a family in transition. Danny, you're adjusting to life after incarceration. Robert, you're confronting financial issues and control patterns. And Margaret, you're discovering your own power and agency. That's a lot of change. Can I say something? When I went to prison, I blamed everyone but myself. Dad, for being too strict. Mom, for being too lenient. My boss, for not giving me a chance to explain. But in there, I had to face the truth. I stole. I made that choice. And I had to live with it. He looks at his parents. Coming home, I see you both doing the same thing. Dad, you're facing what you did with the finances. Mom, you're facing how you let yourself become invisible. And I'm grateful. Because you're showing me that mistakes don't define you. How you handle them does. To Danny, I made you think money was the most important thing. Success, status. I'm realizing now that I didn't even know what success meant. Robert and I met with a bankruptcy attorney yesterday. We're filing Chapter 13. It means a payment plan for our debts over the next 5 years. It also means we can keep the house. How are you feeling about that, Margaret? Smiling slightly. Relieved, actually. Everything's on the table now. No more secrets. And I'm working with Andrea to understand our budget, our options. For the first time in my life, I know exactly where we stand financially. And your job situation? I applied for a full-time position at the library. I found out I was only working part-time because Robert told me we didn't need the money. Turns out, we desperately needed the money. Did you get it? Brightening. I did. I start full-time next week. Benefits, retirement contribution, $38,000 a year. It's not much, but it's everything. It's independence. Robert, that's growth. Recognizing and supporting Margaret's autonomy. I'm trying. It's harder than I expected. 43 years of being taught that men provide and control. It's hard to unlearn. But you are unlearning it. Yesterday, we opened a joint checking account. Both our names, equal access. And Robert showed me how to check the balance, pay bills online, everything. How did that feel? Laughing. Terrifying. Empowering. Like learning to swim at 50. But I'm doing it. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The three of them eat together. Danny wears a work uniform. He's gotten a job at a warehouse. So the warehouse manager said if I keep showing up on time and working hard, he'll recommend me for a supervisor training program in 6 months. That's excellent, Danny. It's not exactly the career I imagined. But it's honest work, and right now, that matters more than anything. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Mom. Oh, and I wanted to talk to you both about something. I've been saving money. Not much, but I want to contribute to household expenses. Rent, groceries, whatever helps. Danny, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I'm 22 years old. I made mistakes, but I'm not going to be a burden. We're a family. We help each other. Margaret and Robert exchange glances. Actually, your father and I have been talking. With the bankruptcy payment plan and my new full-time salary, we're going to be okay. Tight, but okay. So we'd like you to use your money for something else. Like what? Community college. You were always good at computers. Andrea, the financial advocate who's been helping your mom, she mentioned there's a cybersecurity certification program at the community college. 18 months, job placement assistance. Stunned. That costs money. Money you don't have. We have a little. And there are grants for people in your situation, recently incarcerated, trying to rebuild. We looked into it. Danny's eyes fill with tears. Why would you do this? After everything I put you through? Because I spent 2 years being angry at you for making a mistake while I was hiding much worse mistakes of my own. Because your mother showed me what real strength looks like. And because you deserve a second chance. We all do. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, one day at a time. One honest conversation. One small victory. Margaret Chen spent 50 years believing she was incapable of understanding finances. It took her exactly 3 months to become more financially literate than her husband had ever been. Blank. Underscore. Blank. 1 year after Danny's release, Margaret and Robert sit together on the couch, looking at a laptop. Danny enters with a young woman, Maria, 23. Mom, Dad, this is Maria. We've been seeing each other for a few months. Shy. Hi. Danny's told me so much about you. Standing, shaking her hand. Welcome. We're glad to meet you. Danny, did you tell her we're boring people who spend Friday nights reviewing budgets? Laughing. Actually, I told her you're people who faced the hardest year of your lives and came out stronger. To Maria, please, sit. Danny, get Maria some tea. Maria, what do you do? I'm finishing my degree in social work. I want to work with families in crisis. Smiling. Then you'll fit right in. We're experts in crisis around here. Everyone laughs. Danny brings tea and sits next to Maria. Closing the laptop. We were just reviewing our bankruptcy payment plan. We're 12 months in, 36 to go. Danny told me about that. He said it was brave. Surprised. Brave? I thought it was humiliating. It was both, Dad. But mostly brave. You could have kept hiding, kept pretending. Instead, you faced it. Maria, Danny mentioned you work with families in crisis. Can I ask you something? Of course. How many of them involve financial abuse? Women who don't know their own financial situations. Nodding. More than you'd think. Financial abuse is one of the most common forms of domestic control, but it's the least discussed. Women, and sometimes men, who have no access to accounts, no credit in their own names, no idea what their household actually looks like financially. I was one of those women. Gently, Danny told me. He also told me you're helping other women now. Just informally. Through the library, through Andrea's referrals. Women who come in and I can see it in their eyes. The same fear I had. Not knowing if they can afford to leave. Not knowing what's in their own accounts. Uncomfortable but honest. It's hard to hear, knowing I did that to you. Taking his hand. You did, but you're also doing the work to change. Not every man does that. To Maria, my parents are why I wanted you to meet them. Because I want you to see what I come from. Not the perfect family I pretended we were, but the real one. The one that fell apart and put itself back together. Smiling at Danny. That's the only kind of family worth being part of. Margaret sits at her new desk. She's now assistant director. A woman, Claire, 45, sits across from her, nervous, with a teenage daughter. The librarian at the front desk said you might be able to help me. She said you've been through something similar. Tell me what's going on. My husband controls everything. All the money, all the accounts. I don't even have a debit card. He gives me cash for groceries. I've been with him for 20 years and I just found out he's been having an affair. And when I confronted him, he told me if I leave, I'll have nothing. He said the house is in his name, the cars are in his name, everything is his. Margaret reaches across and takes Claire's hand. That's what he wants you to believe. But it's not true. Can I share some resources with you? She pulls out a folder, something she's clearly done before. This is Andrea Thompson's information. She's a financial advocate. She'll help you understand what you're legally entitled to. This is Thomas Park, a family law attorney who does free consultations. And this. She pulls out a second folder, handwritten notes. This is my story. Everything I went through, what I learned, what I wish I'd known sooner. You can keep it. Read it when you're ready. Tears streaming. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Because a year and a half ago, I was you. And someone helped me, so now I help others. That's how we change things. Claire's teenage daughter speaks up. My mom's really smart, she just doesn't know it yet. Smiling. She'll figure it out, and so will you. Let me guess, you don't think you can go to college because there's no money? That's what Dad says. Your dad doesn't control your future. You do. Let me tell you about scholarships, grants, and work-study programs. Blank. Underscore, blank. 3 years after Danny's release, Margaret stands at a podium before a room full of women. A banner reads, Financial Literacy Workshop, Women's Empowerment Initiative, *. My name is Margaret Chen. 3 years ago, I was 50 years old and didn't know how to check my own bank account balance. Today, I'm going to teach you everything I've learned. The room is packed, women of all ages, taking notes. First rule. Financial literacy isn't complicated. It's just information. And information is power. Second rule. You have a legal right to know about your household finances, whether you're married, partnered, or single. Third rule. It's never too late to learn, and it's never too late to change your situation. She clicks to a PowerPoint slide. Today we're going to cover how to open a bank account in your own name, how to check your credit report, how to read a bank statement, how to create a budget, and how to have the conversation with your partner about financial transparency. A hand raises in the back. What if he gets angry? What if asking questions makes things worse? Seriously, then you need to know that before you make any other decisions. A partner who responds with anger when you ask reasonable questions about your own household finances is showing you something important. And that information helps you decide what comes next. She softens her tone. But I also want to say this, not every case is like mine. Some partners genuinely want to help but don't know how to share control. Some can change when confronted with honesty. My husband was one of those. He did terrible things, but he also did the hard work to become better. So don't assume the worst, but prepare for it anyway. The house is the same but feels different, lighter, more open. Photos on the walls now include Margaret receiving an award, Danny in a cap and gown, family photos that look genuine. Margaret and Robert sit in the kitchen with Linda from the library. Margaret, I can't believe you're really doing this. Excited, nervous. I know. Starting my own nonprofit at 55 seems crazy. It's not crazy. It's necessary. The Second Chance Foundation, Financial Literacy and Family Restoration. I love the name. We're going to offer free financial counseling, workshops, support groups for families dealing with financial abuse or crisis. And we're partnering with the prison system to provide financial literacy training for people about to be released. I'm going to be teaching some of the workshops. A sort of what not to do series. They all laugh. And the funding? We got a grant from the state. Andrea's firm is providing pro bono support. And we have about 40 volunteers, most of them women who've been through similar situations. Our bankruptcy is discharged next month. 5 years of payments, done. We'll be debt-free except for the regular mortgage. How does that feel? Margaret and Robert, simultaneously. Like freedom. They look at each other and smile. Blank. Underscore, blank. In Danny's modest but nice one-bedroom apartment. Danny and Maria, now his fiancée, cook dinner together. Photos show Danny receiving his cybersecurity certification, his first day at a new job as a junior IT security analyst. Your mom called me today. She wants me to join the board of her foundation. You should do it. I already said yes. Danny, your parents are amazing. What they've built from where they were. I know. Sometimes I think about that night, my release day. Dad showing up. I didn't think he'd ever forgive me. He was too busy not forgiving himself. Nodding. Prison was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But it woke all of us up. Made us deal with our real problems instead of pretending everything was fine. Do you regret it? What you did? Every day. I stole from someone who trusted me. That's not something you forget. But I also learned that you can't move forward while you're running from your past. You have to turn around and face it. His phone buzzes. He checks it, smiling. It's Mom. She sent a photo. He shows Maria. It's Margaret standing in front of a small office space with a sign being installed, the Second Chance Foundation. She looks so happy. She is. She found her purpose, not being someone's wife or someone's mother, though she's great at both. But being herself. Margaret Chen, the woman who helps other women find their power. A small office space, decorated simply but warmly. Margaret cuts a ribbon while Robert, Danny, Maria, Andrea, Thomas Park, Linda, and about 30 other people applaud. Local press is present. Mrs. Chen, what inspired you to start this foundation? Looking at her family. 5 years ago, I discovered that I'd been financially abused for most of my marriage. I also discovered that my son was coming home from prison, and my husband had hidden massive debt. I had $3,000 in secret savings and no idea how to change my life. She pauses. Today, I have complete financial transparency in my marriage. I run a nonprofit. I teach financial literacy workshops. And my son has a career and a future. The difference between then and now isn't money, though we have less debt and more stability. The difference is knowledge, power, and the courage to demand both. What do you hope this foundation accomplishes? I want to help 3 groups of people. First, women trapped in financially abusive relationships who need education and support to break free safely. Second, couples who want to build financial transparency and partnership but don't know how. And third, people being released from incarceration who need financial skills to rebuild their lives. Why that last group? Looking at Danny. Because everyone deserves a second chance. And because financial literacy can be the difference between returning to prison and building a stable life. Stepping forward. Can I say something? Margaret nods. 5 years ago, I was released from prison with nothing. No money, no skills, no real hope. My parents were in crisis, financially, emotionally, as a couple. We could have fallen apart completely. Instead, we fell apart just enough to see what needed to be rebuilt. He puts his arm around Margaret. My mom taught me that strength isn't about never making mistakes. It's about facing them, learning from them, and using them to help others. This foundation is her second chance. And through it, she's going to give second chances to hundreds of others. Blank. Underscore, blank. 2 years after opening, the space has expanded. Multiple counselors work with clients. Margaret sits in her office with Claire, the woman from the library, who now volunteers at the foundation. I wanted to show you this. She hands Margaret a bank statement. Reading, then smiling. Claire, you have $25,000 saved. Beaming. $27,000 by the end of the month. I've been working full-time for 18 months. My daughter got a full scholarship to State University. She's studying computer science. And my ex-husband, how's the divorce going? Finalized last month. I got half the house equity, half the retirement accounts, and spousal support for 3 years. Your attorney friend Thomas was brilliant. And you were brave. I was terrified, but you told me something that day in the library. You said, staying in fear is its own kind of prison. I never forgot that. There's a knock on the door. A young woman, 23, enters nervously. Is this the Second Chance Foundation? I need help. My boyfriend controls all our money, and I don't know how to. Margaret and Claire exchange knowing looks. standing, extending her hand. You're in the right place. My name is Margaret, and this is Claire. We're going to help you. Come sit down. The young woman sits, and Margaret begins asking gentle questions. Blank. Underscore. Blank. 7 years later, there is a fundraising gala for the Second Chance Foundation. About 200 people in attendance. Margaret, now 57, stands at a podium. Robert sits at a front table with Danny and Maria, now married with a toddler. Claire is there with her daughter, now graduated and working as a software engineer. 7 years ago, I stood in front of a small group of women and taught my first financial literacy workshop. I was so nervous I forgot half of what I planned to say. Laughter from the crowd. Today, the Second Chance Foundation has served over 1,500 clients. We've taught financial literacy to 3,200 people through our workshops. We've partnered with 12 prisons across 3 states. And we've helped 89 women safely leave financially abusive situations. Applause. But the numbers don't tell the real story. The real story is Claire, who came to me with $20 in her purse and is now a volunteer counselor here. The real story is Marcus, who came out of prison with nothing and now owns his own landscaping business. The real story is Jennifer, who rebuilt her credit from 480 to 720 and just bought her first home. She pauses, emotional. The real story is my husband, Robert, who had to completely unlearn everything he thought he knew about money, power, and partnership. Who teaches our workshops for men about financial transparency and emotional honesty. She looks at Robert, who raises his glass to her. And the real story is my son, Danny, who made a terrible mistake at 20, paid for it, and then used that experience to help others. He now works with our foundation teaching financial literacy to people being released from incarceration. Danny stands and waves. Applause. But maybe the most important story is mine. I was 50 years old and believed I was incapable of understanding finances. I believed I needed someone to take care of me. I believed my worth was tied to being a wife and mother, not to being my own person. She steps away from the podium, speaking more intimately. I was wrong about all of it. And the moment I realized that, the moment I decided to educate myself, protect myself, and claim my own power, everything changed. Not overnight, not easily, but it changed. She returns to the podium. Tonight, we're raising money to expand our services. To reach more women, more families, more people who believe they're trapped. But I want to end with something more important than money. She looks out at the crowd. If you're in a relationship where you don't have financial access or transparency, that's not normal. It's not acceptable. It's not just how things are. You deserve to know where you stand. You deserve equal access. You deserve partnership. Pause. And if you've made mistakes, financial mistakes, legal mistakes, mistakes that cost you years of your life, you're not defined by them. You're defined by what you do next. Do you hide? Or do you heal? Do you repeat? Or do you rebuild? She smiles. 7 years ago, I chose to rebuild. And I've never looked back. Standing ovation. The final scene shows Margaret sitting alone at her desk, reviewing grant applications. Robert appears in the doorway with 2 cups of tea. You're going to be here all night if I don't drag you home. Smiling, accepting the tea. Just finishing up. We got the federal grant. The one for the prison education program. Sitting down. That's huge. How much? $750,000 over 3 years. Whistling. Your little foundation is becoming a real organization. Our foundation. You've been teaching workshops for 3 years now. Shaking his head with wonder. You know what's funny? For 30 years, I thought being a man meant controlling everything. Being the provider, the decision maker, the one with all the answers. And now I realize that was the loneliest way to live. Partnership is better. Honesty is better. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. They sit in comfortable silence for a moment. Do you ever regret it? Confronting me the way you did? It was brutal, Margaret. Considering, I regret that it was necessary. But no, I don't regret doing it. If I'd approached it gently, quietly, you would have smoothed it over. Made excuses. Maybe changed a little, but not fundamentally. The shock was necessary. It worked. Scared me straight. Margaret laughs. You scared me for 25 years. I figured turnabout was fair play. Seriously, I'm sorry. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but I'm sorry for what I did to you. For stealing your agency. For making you invisible in your own life. Taking his hand. I know you are. And I forgive you. But Robert, we both know the real question isn't whether you're sorry. It's whether you've changed. Have I? Every day. Not perfectly. But you try. That's what matters. They stand together, preparing to leave. Let's go home. Our son and daughter-in-law are bringing our grandson over for breakfast tomorrow. Smiling. And you're teaching that workshop at the women's shelter at 10. And you have the men's group at noon. We've gotten busy in our old age. Turning off the lights. We've gotten purposeful. There's a difference. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Closing. Margaret Chen had spent 50 years believing she was incapable. She spent the next 7 proving she was unstoppable. The Second Chance Foundation went on to serve over 10,000 clients in its first decade. Margaret's story inspired 3 books, a documentary, and countless women to demand financial transparency in their relationships. Robert continued teaching workshops about financial honesty and emotional vulnerability. He became an unlikely advocate for men's mental health and financial accountability. Danny built a successful career in cybersecurity and never forgot where he came from. He volunteered with the foundation every week, proving that second chances aren't just possible, they're essential. But perhaps the most important legacy wasn't the foundation or the workshops or the thousands of people helped. It was the lesson at the heart of it all. It's never too late to learn. It's never too late to change. And it's never too late to claim the life you deserve. In honor of the millions of people trapped in financial abuse, you are not alone. You are not incapable. You are not stuck. You are one decision away from everything changing. Resources: National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. National Foundation for Credit Counseling, 1-800-388-2227. Legal Aid Services, by state, www.lawhelp.org. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe so that others can benefit from Margaret's story.